Hello everyone, this is Dowster and welcome to another episode review for Dark Side of the Ring, and in this episode it focuses on the life and career of superstar Billy Graham. I heard about Billy while I was surfing WWE's website back in the late 2000s and stumbled upon his profile. He has a style that looks really similar to Hulk Hogan, and as a matter of fact, it is true as Hulk Hogan's gimmick was inspired by Billy. There were rumors that Billy was a racist, but I'm not sure if that was ever confirmed or where I heard it from. I can't remember where, to be honest. Billy was in the Phil Donahue show, as I saw on YouTube regarding the Ring Boy scandal. You can still watch it on YouTube if you want to check it out. Billy talked about allegedly seeing someone from WWE with a child. The Phil Donahue show episode also has Vince McMahon and Bruno Sammartino if you ever want to check it out. Billy is no longer alive as he had passed away on May 17th. 2023. This video will focus on Billy, and I'll go over the episode first and then share my thoughts at the end. I'll call Billy by his ring name or his middle name, Wayne, since that's what the interviewers call him by. Billy's real name was Eldridge Wayne Coleman Jr., and he was born in Phoenix, Arizona. He was born on June 7th, 1943. As a kid growing up, he had to deal with verbal and physical abuse by his father, as his father would hit Wayne with a belt. His father would call him useless, ugly, and all sorts of names as a kid, which would leave an impact later in his life, as you'll soon find out. Once Billy got older and taller, he would eventually stop his dad from hitting him anymore. Wayne became a bodybuilder in 1971 and would pour concrete in buckets as a way to lift weights. Moments later, he traveled from Arizona to Calgary, Canada, in order to join a football team, but it did not end up working out. He somehow met Stu Hart, as Stu was impressed by Billy's physique. Stu had an area at his basement that he would call the dungeon, as Wayne would train there and came out of there prepared to be a wrestler. Once he came back to Arizona, he met with another wrestler named Jerry Graham, who at the time was broke and drunk. In an audio interview, Billy talked about meeting Jerry and how he got the name Billy Graham. Jerry was looking for someone who could play his kayfabe pretend brother in wrestling and had told Billy that he could be his younger brother. Billy had chosen the name Billy Graham because he liked the Reverend Billy Graham and used to preach as a teenager and would travel while doing so. The two ended up going to Los Angeles, California, but a drunk Jerry did not last long as he got fired, leaving Billy all alone. The reason why Billy got kept in the wrestling promotion was because he had more charisma that would help him get more popular in the 70s. Billy had a unique style that was flamboyant as he had his hair bleached blonde. When Billy started training at Gold's Gym, he had a training partner who everyone knows as Arnold the Terminator, from the Terminator movies, in case you're wondering. During that time period, Billy met a woman named Madeline Meluso as she was working at a bank in Southern California, and Billy had thought that she was really pretty. Billy's daughter, named Capella, explained how her mother loved Billy as her mom liked it when Billy would smile and make her laugh. They eloped in January of 1971 at Las Vegas. In the episode, Capella and her brother Joseph show us a Western Union telegram that Madeline had sent to her parents from 1971 regarding her eloping to Billy. His daughter Capella was born in June 1972, and as her mom was in labor with her, some fans had vandalized Billy's Cadillac, since at the time Billy was a heel in wrestling. Billy was unable to pick up his wife and daughter from the hospital, so Arnold ended up picking them up. Billy's kids show us a picture of Arnold holding Capella as a baby. Once they had Capella, the family had gotten an apartment in Santa Monica, California. Billy started getting more popular as he called himself Superstar Billy Graham and was the original superstar. His gimmick would inspire many up-and-coming wrestlers through the years. Madeline was actually the one who tie-dyed Billy's clothes in the kitchen, as Joseph, Billy's son, had recalled. She was the one who gave Billy his iconic look. Dave Meltzer said that Billy's promos in the 70s made Billy stand out in wrestling. He would use a lot of catchphrases such as, "the man with the power, too sweet to be sour." In 1975, Billy got a call from Vince McMahon Sr. from the WWF and had a chance to wrestle in Madison Square Garden, New York. During that time, he faced the likes of Bruno Sammartino, as Bruno back then had the longest reigning World Championship title. Bruno was ready to step down as he had held the title for 9 years. Vince Sr. wanted Bruno to drop the title to Bob Backlund, but Bob's promos were not so great at that period. Vince thought of having Billy get the title instead, but would drop it in about a year. Once Billy had won the match against Bruno, Billy was cheered even though he was a heel. More people of about 2,500 would come to see Billy wrestle in matches as he was a box office attraction. After winning the title, he and his family ended up living in New York and would drive or ride in limos. Moments later, Billy would end up meeting another woman who was 18 years old at the time named Valerie. He had met her at an IHOP that was close to a hotel he was staying at, and she would go to IHOP sometimes in order to see Billy. Billy noticed Valerie and sat next to her as the two of them would talk. The two would eventually start dating and fall in love with each other. But Valerie said in the episode that she did not know that Billy had a family until almost a year later. Days later or so, Billy had told Madeline that he wanted to divorce her as a young Capella was hiding from the couch, listening to her mother crying as her heart was breaking, while Billy was telling Madeline that he loved Valerie. Valerie never left Billy, that they had been together and ended up getting married. Once Billy became a huge star in wrestling, Billy started developing a lot of pain and took lots of medicine. In one incident, he overdosed and passed out in a hotel room after taking many pills. A hotel worker tried to help Billy, but nothing was working until the paramedics had arrived. The paramedics shocked Billy with a defibrillator since Billy's heart had stopped. As Billy's time was running out as champion, he tried to persuade Vince Sr. into letting him hold the title a little longer because the company was selling out events. Vince said no and continued with the plan of having Bob be champion. Joseph said in the episode that he hated Bob Backlund for taking the title away from Billy. The defeat left Billy confused and deeply hurt once he had lost the title. The episode mentions that Billy felt as if he failed everyone because he had felt that he was a failure. The reason why he was so down on himself was because of the abuse that he had gone through with his father and that Billy had accepted what his dad had told him. Valerie said that Billy was very insecure of himself even though he had the good looks back then. After he had lost the title, Billy burned his wrestling gear and wrestling boots. It even affected his self-worth. Gorilla Monsoon, for some reason, wrote a newspaper article that Billy had died of cancer, and people actually believed in it as Billy had been gone from wrestling for a long period of time. Capella said that Billy loved being his character more so than being a dad, and that Billy was more superstar than any of the wrestlers. Billy stopped taking pills, but days later, he had a seizure as he was experiencing withdrawals. After that, Billy went to rehab, but only for a small amount of time. He tried to reinvent himself as he came back to wrestle in 1982, but was skinnier with a bald shaved head and a judo body. Unfortunately, Billy's comeback was not physically easy as his body was giving out and had dealt with hip injuries. When Billy would do his promos, he looked very out of it as if he did not know where he was. His kids and Valerie said in the episode that it was the darkest time of Billy's life. After leaving WWF, Vince McMahon Jr. created a gimmick for Hulk Hogan that was very similar to Billy's look in the 70s. For example, Hulk used the catchphrase "brother," which surprisingly Billy used it first as Hulk had made it more popular. Billy tried to get back in the ring in 1987, but by that time his ankle had fused and he had steel rods from his legs' heels to the top of his legs. In an audio interview, Billy had said that his right leg was 1 inch shorter than his left leg. Although his body had been broken due to the steroids, he still kept doing them. He recalled in one of the audio interviews that when he had gone to Arizona State University in the 60s, a friend of his had introduced Billy to steroids. From that time period, he had 35 to 40 pounds of muscle from steroids. Billy had tried to be the way he was in the 70s, but it had affected him mentally. Valerie said that Billy would destroy the house by throwing things around when he was in a rage, but she said that he was never violent towards her. Billy had never forgiven Vince Sr. for taking the title off of him, as Billy was struggling back then. At one point, Billy got involved with the court and testified for the steroid trials. One of the allegations that Valerie made in this episode is that she believed that former WWF doctor, Dr. Zahorian, was the one who mailed Billy multiple steroid drugs. When Hogan went on the Arsenio Hall show, he said that Billy was an old man that was a nobody and was also a heavily steroid abuser. Typical Hulk Hogan attitude. Vince supposedly got mad with Hulk for dragging Billy like that. Billy then clapped back and said that Hogan himself also did steroids. He recalled in an audio interview that when he met with Hogan at a nightclub, Hulk had asked Billy how he could become a wrestler and how to take steroids. Eventually, Billy ends up going to the Phil Donahue show regarding the steroid allegations. Vince was also in the show as Billy said that he shot Hulk with steroids, leaving Vince angry as he told Billy that it was not true as shown in the Donahue show. Valerie responded in the episode by saying that Billy was lying as he was very bitter during that time. Capella said that her dad had never paid for child support and that her mom had to go back to working at the bank. Madeline worked a lot as a single mom and told her kids that she was hurt when Billy had left her, but she still loved him. She never remarried after Billy and made sure that the kids were well fed. Joseph said that he felt hurt by his father's choices and that he never respected him because of how angry he was with Billy. Capella said that she wanted her dad to be there for the family all the time but was never able to. She also said that Billy loved her more than Joseph because when Joseph was born, he had a hole in his heart and that Billy would ignore Joseph. It was mentioned in the episode that Billy at one point had forgotten Joseph's birthday. Once Joseph got older, he had legally changed his last name to Coleman, which was Billy's real last name, to Meluso, his mom Madeline's maiden name. Valerie said that when Joseph had changed his last name, it broke Billy's heart. Valerie said that Billy did not know how to be a dad as Billy grew up with an abusive father. Capella did not invite her dad to her wedding as her brother Joseph was the one to give her away. Joseph did not care if it made Billy mad that he had his last name changed, as he did not like how Billy completely ignored him and his sister. Billy went back to preaching after WWF, as he was alienated by his kids during that time. He had written a play called The Empty Ring and was able to get wrestler Jake the Snake Roberts to play a character. The play also had demon characters and Billy taking a bottle of pills as the play was close to his life in the past. Unfortunately, Billy would get hepatitis C due to the blood matches he had in the 70s along with the various needles that he would use to inject himself with. One night, Billy coughed up blood to Valerie's face while they were in bed, so they went to the hospital and were told by the doctor that there was not much they could do for Billy as he had stage 4 liver disease and only had 6 weeks to live. Billy called Vince after that and begged for forgiveness, and Vince was nice enough to accept Billy's apology. He was able to get a liver transplant as the little girl had died. Poor little girl though. When Capella got pregnant, she forgave her dad. In January 2023, Billy was hospitalized again. Joseph thought that Billy was going to be okay, but when Joseph had seen pictures of his dad in the hospital bed, he immediately went to go see him. Capella wanted to make her dad happy before he had passed away. Once Joseph saw his dad, he recalled seeing Billy with no muscle and knew that the superstar Billy Graham was no longer there, as his real dad was in the bed instead. Joseph and Billy had long conversations, as Joseph said in the episode that Billy had felt remorseful for hurting him, his sister, and his mother. Capella played Bob Dylan music for her dad when they were at the hospital. The next day, Capella told Valerie that it was time to pull the plug. The last words that Billy had told Joseph through the phone was, "I love you," as you can see Joseph crying while remembering this final moment with his father. At the end of the episode, Valerie said that she still misses Billy to this day. Billy got inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2004. Interviewers for this episode are Dave Meltzer, Jim Cornette, Capella Flaherty, daughter of Billy, Joseph Meluso, son of Billy, Ken Patera, Bill Anderson, Steve Strong, John Arezzi, Steve Kieran, and Valerie Coleman, widow of Billy. Some facts about Billy Graham is that he was named after his father since his father's real name was Eldridge. His father used to drive phone poles to the ground and came from Mississippi. He would end up doing office work as Billy's dad had multiple sclerosis. Billy's mom had Cherokee ancestry and was from Arkansas. When he was in the 5th grade, Billy got into weightlifting. He was so into bodybuilding that he would read bodybuilding magazines. Bodybuilding idols were Steve Reeves and John Grimmick. Although he was very athletic as a teen, his dad was jealous of Billy because of his physique. At his high school, Billy was in track and field and was a champion in shot put. Billy participated in the 1959 Golden Gloves as he was an amateur in professional boxing. In 1966, he played for the Waterbury Orbits for the Atlantic Coast Football League. He was a member of the Oakland Raiders of the American Football League in 1967, but never played a game with the Raiders. Besides the Raiders, he played for the Alouettes and the Las Vegas Cowboys of the Continental Football League in 1969. Surprisingly, Billy was a debt collector and a bouncer for a bar in Phoenix, Arizona. Billy was a contestant for the Mr. Teenage America Bodybuilding Contest in 1961 and won as his photo had appeared in Bob Hoffman's Strength and Fitness magazine. A picture of Billy and Arnold from a photo shoot was featured in Joe Weider's Muscle Fitness magazine in 1968. He had finished in 7th place for the World's Strongest Man competition in 1980. At Gorge, New Jersey, that same year in 1980, Billy had hosted the U.S. Powerlifting Championship in Phoenix, Arizona. When he got his name changed to Billy Graham, he wrestled in Championship Wrestling from Florida. After leaving WWF, he went on an IWA tour for Japan. Once Billy had won the Continental Wrestling Association's CWA World title, he would lose it to Jerry Lawler in Kentucky. Dusty Rhodes joked about Billy Graham being dead in 1981, as some sources thought that Billy was really dead, which turned out to be false. In 1982, Billy returned to WWF, as it was WWF before, and he had a short run. He destroyed Bob Backlund's WWF Championship belt and faced Backlund, but Billy lost and left WWF in 1983, a year later. When he was in AWA, Billy was a member of Kevin Sullivan's Army of Darkness and would then be an opponent to the group. Billy returned to WWF for the 3rd time in 1986, and for some weird reason, when he had a hip replacement surgery during that time, WWF decided to show it in a promo for his comeback. His time wrestling in WWF did not last, as the strain of his hips and ankles were becoming a problem. The rest of his time in WWF, he was a commentator. On March 14, 2004, Billy got inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2004, before WrestleMania 20. Triple H was the one who inducted Graham because he was one of Triple H's inspirations of him wanting to be a professional wrestler. Sadly, Billy sold his WWE Hall of Fame ring so that he could buy anti-rejection medications in order to treat his liver transplant. A couple of months later, he knocked out Jonathan Coachman in interviews twice. He had parted ways with WWE in 2009. Billy signed a new WWE Legends contract for 5 years in 2021. When he was in WWF, Billy headlined 19 sold-out events at Madison Square Garden. His charisma, physique, and character were inspired by wrestlers such as Stone Cold Steve Austin, Scott Steiner, Triple H, Hulk Hogan, and Ric Flair, as I could see a little more of it in Rick. He would be a speaker for steroid use and how it negatively impacted his life, as he was outspoken about it. After the steroid trials, Billy sued Dr. Sahorian and the WWF, as he had claimed that they forced him into taking steroids so that he could keep his job, but was unsuccessful since he had taken steroids prior to being in WWF. When Billy was at the Phil Donahue show, he alleged that he saw WWF officials essay children, which Billy would later admit that he lied because he wanted hush money from the WWF. Although Billy denied seeing child abuse on WWE or WWF property, there have been a lot of allegations, most notably about the Ring Boy scandal. In his biography, Billy had said that he felt so much shame and guilt from it. He even wrote an apology to Vince, but did not receive a response until Billy's 2002 liver transplant. After he sold his Hall of Fame ring on eBay, Billy wanted to be removed from the Hall of Fame after Abdullah the Butcher got in. The reason why Billy had felt that way was because Abdullah had never wrestled for WWF, now WWE, However, the Great Muta was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2023 but never wrestled for WWE. Unless you count WCW since it was bought by WWE years later. Graham spoke out against Linda McMahon during her 2010 Senate campaign. When his liver was getting worse, he tried to make amends with the McMahon family and would be a spokesperson for Linda's campaign in order for them to forgive him. In July 2015, Billy had sent a letter to Vince and requested to take Dusty's position in NXT after Dusty had passed away. Many fans were very critical of Billy due to Dusty's untimely death. Before he married Madeline, Billy was married to a woman named Shirley Potts. Joseph, Billy's son, was born with double pneumonia and an enlarged heart, but got it surgically corrected. Interesting fact, Joseph's godfather was Dusty Rhodes. Billy and Valerie were not able to conceive children. When Billy was told that he had a year to live without a liver transplant, he reserved a burial spot in Scottsdale, Arizona next to Eddie Guerrero. In June 2022, he had his toes amputated due to an infection. In January 2023, Billy was hospitalized for an ear and skull infection that had left him deaf. Billy died on May 17, 2023 of sepsis and multiple organ failure. He was placed on life support. Throughout his life, Billy has held many titles and awards. At the 50th State Big Time Wrestling, Billy got the NWA Hawaii Heavyweight title only one time. In Championship Wrestling from Florida, Billy had the NWA Florida Heavyweight title twice, the NWA Tag Team titles with Ox Baker once, and the NWA Southern Heavyweight title, the Florida version, once. At CWA, Billy won the CWA World Heavyweight title once. For International Pro Wrestling, he won the IWA World Heavyweight title once. As for NWA Big Time Wrestling, Billy won the NWA Brass Knuckles title, the Texas version, 4 times. He was also in NWA San Francisco and won the NWA World Tag Team titles, the San Francisco version once with Pat Patterson. In the Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine, Billy won the category for Most Hated Wrestler of the Year in 1973, Match of the Year against Bruno Sammartino in 1977, Match of the Year against Bob Backlund in 1978, and was ranked number 277 out of 500 singles wrestlers of the PWI years in 2003. Billy was the Wrestler of the Week from June 1st to June 6, 1987 from Pro Wrestling This Week. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame for the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame and Museum in 2009. For WWE, he had the WWF Heavyweight title once, received one Slammy Award in 1987 for the Hulk Hogan Real American Award. I don't know why they had that. And got into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2004. As for Wrestling Observer Newsletter, Billy got the Most Washed Up Wrestler in 1982. Pretty rude, by the way. Best Pro Wrestling Book in 2006 with Keith Greensburg, and Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Fame in 1996. I give this episode an 8.5 out of 10, as it was good and made me cry a little bit regarding the last days of Billy Graham. Very sad on what Billy had to deal with as a child and the abuse that he endured. I think the abuse had such a huge impact because I myself was abused verbally as a child and called useless. When you hear those words such as useless and no good at all, it sticks with you for a long time. It's never easy, but with therapy and time, it has helped me a lot. I'm glad that Capella and Joseph were nice to give their dad the happiest time while he was about to die in the hospital. Although they had a reason to be so angry with him, I'm glad that they seemed to have some closure once Billy had passed. As for Billy, he seemed like a charismatic guy who I think would have gone a lot farther in his wrestling career had he not let the loss of the title get the best of him. We probably would have never had Hulk Hogan had it never been for Billy. After his first run with WWE, which was WWF, by the way, when he was there, he might have been attached to wrestling as it might have given him a place to escape from the abuse that he had gone through as a kid. Beating Bruno Sammartino is a big deal as WWE still talks about his longest title run, when Roman Reigns had held the title. Life happens and steroids really damage your mind. However, being bitter did not help Billy, but at least he had some closure with his kids. Again, I don't know if Capella and Joseph have fully forgiven him because they did sound a little angry in this episode, which is understandable. Billy and Valerie's relationship I think might have been an affair, But I do think that Billy should have tried to be there for his kids more. And I thought he would understand considering he was abused as a kid by his dad. I noticed with Valerie that she had a bandana around her head. And even though I don't like people cheating on their loved ones or going after a married person, I hope she's doing okay. It was a really good episode as I understood the pain that Billy had gone through. I did forgive my dad for everything, and luckily he is still alive, just a couple miles away. Sometimes you just have to forgive in order to not be so bitter, depending on the circumstances though. Anyways, that's all I have for this video. But thank you guys for watching. And comment, like, or subscribe if you want to. And take care of your mental health and everyone around you. And I'll do the same too. Bye guys.